Okay, guys, let's go ahead and continue. So we are here at CNBC. Aspiring homeowners say they face two major obstacles buying. Here's why. 20% say it will never happen. Quote on the word never. More than half of aspiring homeowners surveyed say cost of living and insufficient income make it difficult to afford a down payment and closing costs for a home, according to a new report by Bankrate. The report also found a degree of pessimism from aspiring homebuyers who think they will never be able to buy a home, or that will take at least 5 to 10 years. And what are prices going to do over those next 5 to 10 years, guys?
Per the data.
So on the tail end of our previous conversation about medium home price down payment. I'm sorry, medium home. What am I trying to say? Down payments? On the tail of our previous conversation about median down payments, in the next 5 to 10 years, if that goes up, it's going to be even harder to chase because you're just constantly you're fighting inflation and costs over here on living and saving and trying to get a down payment.
This reminds me of 2000. New home builders were supposed to build at least 25 homes. 2,500 homes?
No, 250,000 homes to meet California's demand.
250,000
It was $250,000.
Okay. And how many do we need now?
Oh, we need 2 to 2.5 million in California to catch up on the lack of supply.
Me of that kind
That's back in Y2K.
This is like constantly chasing it is what you're saying.
Exactly.
It's like I'm going to go on a jog with Usain Bolt, and he's not out the gate fast to me. And then at the mile mark, I'm chasing Chogi. What's Kokoji? What's the guy's name?
Yeah, it's just you trying to chase him down. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Put it that way.
Khashoggi? What's the guy's name?
Well, I mean, this is stuff we already knew, guys. We already know that. People were getting priced out. It's, right?
Okay, I get that you're not surprised by it.
Yeah.
Look, I understand why people are pessimistic. We totally get it. And you're like, it's easy for you guys to sell. You sell loans. Like, you talk to rich people all day long. Like, look, people work their ass off to try to save. We totally get it. Look, it's why we can do the show. It's because the primary business exists. The show does not pay for our primary business. This is our hobby.
Yeah.
And so, we have 51% pointing to the high cost of living, and 54% of those saying they have insufficient income given where home prices are right now. And unless something changes or new creative products come out, like we're having these conversations with people. And I would say that there's probably a commensurate amount of people that we qualify or talk to. It's about right there. Some people qualify, some don't.
So, I mean, a lot of people aren't, wrong to feel this way because I feel that they're in a sinking boat where they're trying to get water out, but there's a hole in your boat. So regardless, you're trying to take water out, but more's coming in. And that's similar to what's happening to, their financial life. Like, I'm bringing in money, but now I have to put more money out to pay for stuff. So the little savings or any savings that I was putting towards, my house, now I have to put towards just my cost of my living. And unfortunately, it comes down to two things: your habits after you have your revolving payments, and then what happens after you have your rest of your money. Because you can save, you can invest, and it'll be hard, but at the same time, it really comes down to, well, how's your life being lived? And
exactly.
Or do you have the ability to save?
And now I got to bring the tío, the tía, and Panchito and Francisco and everybody bringing on their money so maybe we could have the down payment, right?
Well, that's in order to contend. You made the argument, or you were stating a case earlier at the top of the show, talking about how you were outbid by this other deal, end up being FHA with money down and this and that. It's like, okay, well, how am I going to scrap together all this money that I need in order to buy a house, even if it is with FHA, but it's at $1 million or $1,050,000? That's a lot. Number one. And most people aren't making enough right now to be able to pay for their living and also save for the home. They're like, I can do one or the other. I can't do both.
Exactly.
And that's evidenced by the number of people still living at home in order to save money, or living at home with parents or whatever, so that they can save enough money to then do the thing. It's like less and less people can do both.
Exactly.
And I also feel that it's like, I don't think I can, so I'm not. But if you're sick and you're like, hey, I'm not gonna healthy. Like I'm okay. So then you'll never know how to get healthy. But if you sit down and you actually create a plan based off whatever your situation is, then you could take little baby steps. Shit, crawl. Even if you're putting a little bit down, like whatever it is. But if you're going based off just your own calculations and what you feel and think about your life, then it's really difficult to know when.
But
then
here it comes, right? We got last couple of weeks we've been seeing inflation going up, so we started to see other stuff coming up in price too, and then now you have the interest rate where we were seeing like the low 6s, for conventional, mid 5s for government, and now we're seeing almost the 7s.
Right.
Again. So it's kind of like resistance there. First I'm getting there, and now it's like, this happens like.
It gets close, and then
you do become pessimistic of the whole process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's totally understandable.
I guess put simply, people's salaries and income aren't matching,
That's
the
correct.
rising cost of whatever, everything.
Do you remember the movie What About Bob? With Bill Murray a long time ago. It's
a
old. The
long
movie
time.
is older than
You
he
weren't
is
born.
old. I wasn't even born yet. But baby steps on the elevator.
Was it
baby
black and
steps
white?
in the hallway.
Yeah.
Baby steps in the office. Baby steps, and the whole thing was about baby steps. And so you saying baby steps, Brian, unintentionally referencing What About Bob? Credit Bill Murray. Hilarious movie. Thank you for that. More people were denied on mortgage applications for insufficient income in 2023. And that's wrap. See you next week.
Yeah.
That's, here's the nuts part to me about that, guys. This is when rates were still, like, let's say attainable or within their arm's reach, and at the same window of time that they're referencing here, when prices were kind of, 2021 to 2022, they were going up. But remember, like summer of 22, they kind of like curbed off a little bit because rate hikes had already started. So kind of like our little, like our peak and trough from any correction was around that 2022 time, and 2023 was just a trudge for everybody. So really kind of weird to me that there was more people denied during that time, but I get it, because you probably also had volumes of people from a numerical perspective. Let's say you had 10 million more people apply. Well, of course, then you have more people getting denied. So there's that element.
Math.
Too. Yeah. Math and super simple 101 logic. So
Thank you, Andy.
uncertainty is a problem.
Our math expert.
For those of you who are watching this segment of the show and you're like, hey, I still am an aspiring home buyer, and I am not one of these people that's saying, oh, I'm never going to buy a house, or I can't do this and that. Like, look, here's the advice from the experts in the article: is be ready to financially absorb the other things that come along with home ownership. That could be buying new furniture, fixing the floor, painting the house, redoing the landscape. It could be the repairs and maintenance that need to be done. It's going to be upgrades and renovations that are required. Like, all that stuff matters, and you should be, let's say you should exercise financial maturity in preparing for those things, saving for those things, and also doing those things when they're required.
Yeah, and there's budgets out there that you can utilize totally for this stuff.
Yeah, budgets, Dr. Budgets. My good friend, Dr. Budgets.
And at the end of the day, it's an investment for your family, and it's also financial investment. I like that they say, you're going to have to eat other costs, but that comes with everything, So at the end of the day, if you're able to make this happen down the line, and they say, on average, homeowners are, have a higher net worth than renters. It is true, but it's gradually over time of them, making those payments, and that's the reward that you get, when you're renting. Unfortunately, you just don't get that reward. But I don't think, everybody looks at it like as a financial play for themselves when they're buying a house. Some are like, dude, I just need a roof over my head and a place for my kids and my dog to run around. But you come to find out that, those people then find out like, oh, shoot, I just sold my house 5 years down the line and I made this much. Why didn't I do this earlier? Yeah. And the point is, get in down the line. You yourself are going to find out your aha moment when you sell, when you refinance, or you do any transaction. But the first one is going to feel a little bit awkward.
Of course. Always does.
I'm so glad you always say that too. Like, just get in. Like, if you can get in, just get in.
Yeah, just get in.
Yeah, because again, you look at the long-term value of real estate. You look at the long-term return on real estate, because things are going to happen in your life, good, bad, and ugly, at some point. And so it's like, well, you can either be a renter at the times, or you can be a homeowner at the times. Yeah. Renting's going to cost you something. Homeownership's going to cost you something. There's no way of getting it out without it costing you something. So, pick your pill, if you will.
Yeah. No, you know what? It becomes an addiction too, because you start seeing how in the beginning it's very difficult. And you kind of get used to anything, right? Mm-hmm. Anything you do, when you got your first position for your job, or you started doing loans, it was like, how do I do this? But then once you understood, it becomes addicting. Like, how do I help more people? Yeah. For me now is, how do I acquire more properties? How do I get creative in purchasing more properties, And then it becomes, how do I leverage other people's money to get into those properties? It becomes an addiction, because you see the wealth that it can leave, and the legacies that you can also leave behind. And being that it's simple economic supply and demand, we already know our population continues to grow. Every 50 years, proven fact that we double in population, and so here we are. And again, I say San Diego. I love San Diego. I don't know. I know we have certain tenant laws, rules, regulations, stuff like that, but I still love San Diego.
Hey, if you can invest in San Diego, your future's looking bright.
Yeah, exactly. I could drive to my investment property and see how everything's doing, say hello to the tenant, and hey, how's it going?
I do have a friend who will not buy an investment property that is more than a half a day's drive away.
Yeah.
And that's his radius, is if I can't get there in half a day by car, then I won't go.
Yeah.